Welcome back, everybody.
Cheers.
Modern Maker Podcast, third episode back. We're consistent. We're really here now.
So, I told you about the stump, covered that in Maker Ranch. What are you working on? Where are we at with the Terrazzo?
Ooh, okay. It's Terrazzo time.
You got a little show and tell? What do we got?
I think I'm the happiest person to have a box of broken tile.
Oh.
This is polished marble. It's kind of this emerald green color. As you know, I'm on the hunt for making a kind of Pinteresting designer style terrazzo. And so you got to pick some kind of colorway that's unique so that it doesn't look like an industrial terrazzo or a commercial terrazzo like you would see in a high school.
Do you ever give the materials just a little sniff?
This one's really nothing. I'm getting nothing off it.
Yeah, just a little dust, a little masonry dust.
A little bit of dust. So yesterday, I went on a big adventure. I started by going to a couple of countertop and granite stores.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were closed because it was the weekend, and no one I talked to was down to give me any free or cheap scraps. But not to say it's impossible. I still want to, maybe on Monday, Tuesday this week, pop by a couple countertop stores and see if they've got a good scrap bin I could pull from and maybe get some solid surface counters. But after that failure, I decided I've got to find my colored tile, and it needs to be solid stone. It can't be porcelain. It can't be ceramic. And so I ended up at the store called Floor & Decor, which if you've ever been, is awesome. It's basically the tile section and the flooring section at Home Depot, the size of Home Depot. And so you get to see all the cool standard options. And if you want good, kind of like right online things, instead of just having the one option that Home Depot has, you got like 10 kind of like simple, good marble options rather than just one or two. But you also get to see all the specialty mosaic tiles and custom things that you see online a lot, but you really don't see in person a ton, and like at a big box store. And so take my recommendation, any of the viewers, check out the Floor & Decor store if you're ever in a project that warrants it. And I ended up finding this box of tile, exactly what I wanted. They were broken, and I got them half off.
Half off? That's not bad.
It's not bad. So I ended up making each one of these tiles about $6. So I didn't spend too much money, and I feel like I'm still on the theme of terrazzo, which has this like reusing waste material element. And so I know I would have gotten a lot of comments that said, Mike, I can't believe you made terrazzo and broke up expensive tiles to make it. That's kind of counterintuitive, right? And so I'm actually really happy personally to save some money, but also I'm happy to put that comment to rest.
Question. Are you going to you're going to break it up more into chips?
Yes.
Are you going to leave within the terrazzo that you're making? Are you going to leave any factory edges? Or is it all going to be jagged or natural edges?
I don't want any square edges on the corners, but I'm not going to be able to avoid having a straight and flat face on the top.
No 90 corners, but you're okay with a straight edge here or there.
Right. And I think the profile that'll look the most unique, and I'm going to try and avoid getting too much, is if you just had an edge to where you see like a straight line in the terrazzo. Right. And that's where having like, thick countertops would come in handy, or, getting, I guess, marble stones, maybe like mulch for landscaping.
So another question. Are you going to put it flat down? Are you going to place these by hand in a mold? Or are you just mixing it up as a mix and then dumping the whole mix into a mold?
So I'm going to make a concrete mix using this as the aggregate, but I think a little bit of that designer's touch is going to have a couple of perfect pieces.
Gotcha.
Like I'll smash everything, I'll drop them, I'll figure out ways of getting different pieces, but there'll be a couple that are just too good to pass up, and I'm probably going to end up like placing those.
And is your finished surface going to be, when you pour this into place, you mix it up and you pour it, are you casting it into a mold where the finished surface is down, or is the finished surface going to be the top and you're casting it in place?
No matter what, I'm going to have to grind it down. And so I think I'm going to actually have the top of the mold, which usually becomes the bottom of your table, that will be still the top. Which, makes me think, how am I going to do this? I'll have to pour the concrete
you can push,
and then put my special ones in.
Push it down into it.
Yeah, so that's awesome that we talked about that, because that wasn't something I was considering. But my thought is it'll give me a little bit less work to do, because I'm going to kind of make a counter or a little table slab. And so if I use the mold to give me a really smooth bottom, then I don't have to machine it or anything like that.
The other question is, So when you're doing like a terrazzo or a concrete countertop, you want to really vibrate it to get out the air bubbles.
Totally.
Now, when you vibrate something, the heavier pieces tend to go towards the
Ooh,
bottom,
you have a good point.
right? So I think you really want to make sure that what's really going to come down to is your piece size.
Yeah.
Because if these pieces this will probably be the biggest aggregate within the mix.
Yeah.
So that I think is actually pretty interesting. So I think where you're actually going to get more straight lines is pieces like this coming down at an angle, and then you grind it off this way and you
Yeah.
see straight line and straight line. So you might see these like little, it's going to look like kind of like green Christmas candy stripes.
I get exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And if some of them are straight and then some of them are at an angle, they will be slightly different widths. And it can kind of maybe grind differently, like reveal the grain a little differently. So I'm just really excited to experiment. The game plan for the video is to do a designer version where I've got like the cool trendy colors, make it Pinterest ready. I also want to just show using basic concrete mix, just basic Quikrete. And then I'll find some cool stones around my property to throw in extra, grind that down and see what it looks like. And then the third option, I've been collecting a little bit of glass. And so I'll just do one with glass. And then I've done it kind of the 3 common ways, give people the beginner's guide as I'm learning with them.
Can we break a piece?
Go for it. Let's see. Do it for the camera. Wow. See, now this is what I'm talking about. There'll be a couple cool pieces, but I won't want the straight edge on it. So I think we go one more time. Ooh.
Let's see if we get shrapnel to the balls.
Not bad. I like that it's not turning into too small of pieces too quickly.
Prison shift.
Golly. But this is what I'm looking for, if you could imagine. If I were to place any cool pieces
that's like
at
a
the
great
end,
size, yeah.
this is what I would put in at the end. Something that's not too big, but whenever you see cool, trendy terrazzo on Pinterest, it's always got some larger stone inclusions, not just the tiny pieces. So I think that'll be a little bit of the like unlock.
Yeah, and I would use all the gravel because I think even the small pieces this size, if you sprinkle in some of this stuff on the top, and then kind of trowel it in, this stuff will give you just like little flecks of green. They're kind of like color foreshadowing for the bigger chips.
I dig it. Yeah. And also, I don't have a ton of tile. I've definitely got enough for the kind of beginner project I'm doing. But I'm going to use all of it in the sense that, like, even the small pieces, I'll work that into the mix and then maybe be placing the bigger pieces. So I'm just curious to see what happens.
Isn't it funny when you try to intentionally break stuff, it doesn't break as readily as when you accidentally break stuff?
Yeah.
There's like times where you like, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it. And it like totally breaks.
Yeah.
And then there's times where you try to break something and it like just a little tiny piece falls off.
It's like someone gets mad and throws it down and it doesn't break. Like, God, no, I just threw a tantrum. God. Right. You know, they actually say Crown Royal bottles are like impossible to break in that way. Like what we were doing, it'll just bounce off of concrete.
Oh, well, they are pretty thick bottles and they're not that big.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to break a mini bottle of alcohol.
It's like a dwarf, like Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Do you ever see that movie with Liam Neeson where he's fighting wolves and he takes the little mini bottles and duct tapes them to his hands and then like breaks them off so he's got like little Wolverine claws?
Yeah, that's how the movie ends in whatever one it is. I would have liked to have seen that battle. Even if he goes down, like just DIY Wolverine.
Crazy he became an action figure.
A couple years after a standard action guy does.
Yeah. Yeah, just like a 60-year-old dude like going around beating people up.
Do you think he kind of suffered a little bit because he was Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars? And then I don't remember him being in anything for a second. And so once you're attached to a big thing like that, maybe a Marvel movie, it kind of affects your casting for a little bit.
Yeah.
But eventually people forget about, Star Wars Episode 1. And then you're back in the game. Taken.
Taken was pretty lit.
It was awesome.
Did you watch Sicario yet?
No.
Gotta watch Sicario.
I will.
So we got a question. There's so many ways to make money in the creative professional fields, our fields.
Sure.
What revenue building methods do you most have your aim on? Or said another way, what are your current least favorite and most favorite ways to make money? So like, we do a lot of stuff because it's our job and it's how we get paid. But within it, there's like probably some deals that we take for a little bit less money because they're not as brutal. They're a little bit more fun.
Mm-hmm.
So what are like kind of like the fun ways to make money versus the ways where it kind of just sucks, but you grind it out for the revenue?
Yeah, well, I think the fun ways of making money, not to talk about what we're doing, But this weird stump you've got,
Yeah.
a long-term play, this Terrazzo thing I'm doing, something that, is pushing my creativity. That's the world you want to be in. And if you can make really good money, whether it's through a brand deal or your content going viral, really doesn't matter. But if you're striking that creative chord and it's profitable, that's what you want to try and find. I think what I tried to do not too long ago was double dip on an income property. And that was something that wasn't pushing me as creatively. It was more pushing me with just labor and effort and going after it. But it made me really rethink things once I was done. And I wanted to focus more on creative projects rather than just, fixing walls, tearing down this and putting up new fixtures. There's something to feeling like you're pushing your own creativity that is different than just making money. Because it's cool that you have an income property when you're done, but I guess the question said it. There's multiple ways of making money to be creative. So just because I can doesn't mean you have to.
I would say commissions, custom commissions are always a little bit tricky.
Sure.
I have so much more fun when I make something. Antler chair, great example. There was no customer for that before I made it. As soon as I made it and posted it, so many people wanted to buy it. And it's
Awesome.
ended up going to be a lucrative kind of endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Content did well, and I'll be able to sell it for probably around like $5,000 to $6,000.
Boom. That's
And for a
crazy.
couple day build, it's good. Now, if I was to make that as a commission, the exact same chair where someone said, hey, I'm going to get you an antler and I want you to carve a rock base for it, it would have been a miserable project, even though it's the exact same project, because I'd be worried about their expectations. Because when you take a commission, you have an audience of one, and you don't know exactly what they're thinking. So it's super stressful knowing that this whole project that you're building is for this one person. One of the things I think that's so fun about content is, for all the bad that algorithms have, it allows your content to find the people that are interested in it. And that takes a lot of the creative pressure off and makes it more fun, because you can say, hey, maybe this will do a lot of views. Maybe this won't do that many views, but it will find the audience that's appropriate for it.
Right.
And some of the things we do, a lot of people like, and some of them, a small number of people like them.
Sure.
We'd prefer it if it was always a lot, but
Yeah.
at least
Shooters got to
at
shoot.
least it finds its kind of level point.
Yeah.
When you're doing custom work, you have this audience of one, and that person may not be rational, or they may be in a bad mood, or they may not have the same sort of vision. And even though they described it to you in a certain way, my interpretation of it might be off. So I find like commission works to be less enjoyable, even though they often pay quite a bit, than doing work for the content itself and then selling it after.
Yeah. If you've got a situation where you can do it, that's awesome. And if you could, that's honestly all I have to say about it.
But I think it's like with the rental property, it's not that you're doing it, it's your property, your investment, you do this. But, well, first and foremost, with the rental property, most people that are going to actually be the customer for it aren't going to care to the same degree about the creative stuff.
Yep.
They're looking for a good place for the family. They probably actually, in many cases, care more about the school district that you're in, or how close you are to their work.
Right.
Above and beyond, like, oh, what is that, a chestnut stain or more of a cherry that you use?
Right. Because I wasn't renovating in like $1 million neighborhood where it is that as an option. Realistically, you've got to do the best option with all things considered, price, time, customers, or whoever's going to be renting. And so, yeah, I wasn't able to kind of do the out of the box things. I was on purpose drawing inside of the lines.
Right.
That way it could kind of be a design that if you staged the house a little more traditional, just classic, Central America vibes, it would fit it. It would be a nice, cool, trendy version of that. But at the same time, if you did want to go contemporary and modern or mid-century,
and Mike means Central America in the Midwest laterally, not north and south. We're not talking Panama.
Right.
We're talking Oklahoma.
We're talking longitude, not latitude.
Yeah.
Or the opposite.
Funny thing. So I was watching this whole thing about how, like, some of these shows, the value in them isn't in their kind of views for the whole episodes. It's because they're kind of produce a lot of clips.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like reading up all about the clip economy and all this stuff.
Like a reality show going viral on like
Right.
socials. Okay.
So like the example was like this tech podcast TBPN. It only gets about like, 50,000 views per episode, but it sold for $200 million.
Insane.
But their clips get a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like thinking, okay, I'm going to post some of our clips from the thing. You know which clip got the most views?
It was from episode 1, like back that we did?
When we were talking about what Oklahomans think vegetables are.
Oh, shoot. I remember watching the clips before we posted them. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like where we were saying something. I remember you were saying sometimes you go to a steakhouse and the sides are a little mid. But I'm like, what do you mean? You go to a steakhouse, it's just mashed potatoes, corn on the cob.
It was you going like mac and cheese, vegetable.
Yeah.
Corn, vegetable. Potatoes, also vegetables.
Well, that's kind of cool to hear. I mean, obviously, we're not making the podcast for clips, but if we kind of go on a little bit of a tangent, maybe it makes a cool clip.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So one other thing, actually, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, we've been talking about, renovating a house for a client, and that's kind of how or building stuff for a client. And I kind of felt like I was renovating for a client, and that was where my client was average person, and it just didn't feel like I was pushing myself. So this is where I want to be. And my hope is just going all in and you actually make the cool thing. Like, where does the confidence come from to just be like, oh, this is going to be cool. Someone will buy it, or this will be cool. Probably be a banger on YouTube. What makes you feel like I've got it? And this is the idea I should actually do,
So here's the takeaway. There's a difference between easy money and fun money.
Okay.
Signing a high net worth client for a big paycheck can be easy money, but it also might be stressful easy money. It might be a short amount of work, but you still got to do the work and they have to approve it and there's a lot of interaction and you're not in control of your own destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So easy money is great. Take the easy money, but also take the fun money. And this is where speculative work comes and you want to be your own client. And when I talk to general contractors, they love building houses, what they do, but a bad client ruins their life until that project's done and they can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
A great client is a surprise and delight and makes their life better. Where they tend to have the most fun and move the fastest and most efficient is when they're doing a spec house or a speculative build, where they're the developer. They're using their knowledge and expertise
and they're fronting the money on
to be
build.
but they're taking on more risk. And that risk may take down the fun a little bit because it adds a little stress. But I think the key here is you want to balance the easy money with the fun money.
Sure.
And the fun money is often where you have the biggest creative developments. Like no client is going to hire you to develop a new DIY way of doing terrazzo. Mm-hmm. But you're like super engaged. I can tell because you're like bringing it, you're like hunting, you're scavenging. And the upside is big because if you develop like a new way of making an infill material that's not concrete and not epoxy, but somewhere in between that is also colorful and cost effective, well, that opens up doesn't just solve one project for you. Right. It could solve the next 20 projects for you.
In the way that I obviously want to try this colorway, but since I started doing my research on rocks and all the different things I could use as aggregates, I have a list of 10 rocks and stones I want to use, let alone what application they would go into. And so you've obviously got terrazzo table, terrazzo countertop, terrazzo sink. There's a lot of different things you could make with it. And so I think that's what you were talking about. It gives an opportunity to make a bubble where you get to express a lot of ideas around a single topic. And that's fun.
Fun money, easy money, play with both.
Yeah.
Take the easy money when it's there. If it's not there, look for the fun money.
And so if you're not making content and if you are working more in the world of the physical things, how does fun money and how does
easy money?
Sorry. How does fun money and how does easy money apply?
People love hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends, she has a very successful sort of marketing career. She makes great money.
Okay.
She loves doing ceramics. And she sold her first ceramic piece. Now, it's nowhere near what she makes for that.
Yeah.
But she was so excited to make money off of something that heretofore was a way that she spent money on her hobby.
Totally.
So for her, like the amount of joy she made for selling like a custom coffee mug for like $50.
Yeah.
$50 means nothing to her.
I've invested thousands in equipment and supplies for this, but I made
Right.
$50.
So one, I think
Because
like
that's not what it's about. It's really about like, it's not necessarily about validating, but even selling a piece for money,
it's so
it's
easy.
validating as somebody making something.
Exactly. So people love to say, "Oh, I'm not doing it for the money." But when you hear people say that, you don't fully believe them.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear someone saying that, like, "Oh, I don't do it for the money," I'm like, well, maybe you don't do it mostly for the money, but like it's always a little bit of a factor. It's rare that it's completely antithetical to the decision making.
Yes.
That's okay. It shouldn't be the number one factor,
Right.
but maybe it shouldn't be the 100th factor. Maybe it should be in the 30 to 60 range.
Yeah. And if it's not about the money and it's more about like, expressing yourself and having it received, I think those two they go hand in hand today.
Right.
And so you could say it's not about the money and more it's about not necessarily attention, but just like sharing a thing and people receiving it and enjoying it. That perfectly goes hand in hand today.
I think of when people say they don't do it for the money, I think of it as like people that say like, "Oh, I just love my kids." And it's like when I talk to parents that are like being honest,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Of course I love my kids." But sometimes they drive me absolutely insane and
Sure.
I just want to get away and have some peace and quiet.
Right.
I feel the same way about kind of like the work to sort of money situation. Of course, you're going to take care of your responsibilities and you're going to try to be a good professional, but sometimes it's just really annoying.
Yeah. And I could imagine there's a few times in the YouTube journey where you could have become the blank guy. But I think you've on purpose tried not to do that. Like you could have been like the concrete guy, but then I'm not going to focus on all that. You could have been the plywood guy, but you're like, I'm not going to focus on only that. And I think that's cool. Like we live in a world where you can find success with something, but then leverage that success to find it again with your next idea.
I think I've become the guy that hates toes, according to the comment section.
Everything you make is like a toe buster. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna knock your shins on that bed. I read one of those today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Rogan lies so much when he says he doesn't read comments.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't even look at that stuff. No way.
I read comments.
It's awesome for the good and the bad. Why wouldn't you want to hear what people think?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, any memorable comments lately?
Well, I really did read one today that was just commenting on like a platform bet I made, and it was more than just like that's a shin knocker. He has like 2 or 3 sentences about it. How it's like I can't believe people waste their time building stuff like this without thinking of obvious design flaws.
I
Funny.
got one
It's
today.
not a design flaw. What was yours?
Well, I got one today that was interesting. So he said, because it's so weird. I put with YouTube now, you can put up 3 thumbnails.
Yes.
And it's kind of great. It makes it's more work because you have to make 3 thumbnails and 3 titles versus 1 and it A/B test them, right? So it tells you, it kind of serves them up to each 1/3 of the audience and then it tells you which one performs the best.
Right.
So it's more work, but it's less anxiety, right? So it's actually like, I actually think it's, since they created this, I spend less time on thumbnails because I can make 3. Because a lot of the times in making, when you just have 1 thumbnail to make, you spend all your time just staring at the screen trying to make a decision.
Right.
Now that you can make 3, you're like, oh, let me just make the 3 obvious choices and then we'll let the audience sort out which one they like the best.
Totally.
So it's actually more production work, but less decision making. And it speeds up my process actually quite a bit.
Yeah, being able to A/B test the thumbnails. Now I find myself spending a similar amount of time on like my primary thumbnail,
Right.
but now I make like 2 real quick ones.
So,
But sometimes the quick one is a little better performing than the ones that, I put the light filter on, I put extra text and all the arrows. Sometimes the more simple one where it's just the project's the focus, it really doesn't look as polished, but everything's got an AI thumbnail, but then sometimes really is lackluster content behind it. And I think there might be a trend where even though AI thumbnails have been a way of getting more eyes, it might start being a thing where if someone sees where it's like, yo, there's no AI in this content, I feel like I might watch it / kind of feeling burned by
Yeah.
watching a video with a great thumbnail, a Hollywood style thumbnail, but then when you click it, just under delivering.
So I posted this video of these rock and wood coffee tables that I've been making. And one of the thumbnails was just like, make this. One of it was like rocks plus wood. And the third one was like 9 hours. And then the sale price for what I sold one of them for, which was $3,500.
Boom.
That one, way more people clicked on the one that had the money.
Yeah.
But you can tell where the audience came from because that thumbnail, people clicked on it, but it also kind of angered them.
Right.
So there are some people being like, how dare you charge this much? And someone called me greedy. And I was like, well, I didn't. My sort of go-to for pricing, if someone says, hey, is this for sale? Can I buy it? I'll be like, potentially, but I don't like shipping it. So you have to come pick it up.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, well, how much? And I'll be like, you can make an offer for what you think it's worth.
Sure.
If they lowball me, I just don't respond to their messages ever again. And if they give me a fair price, I'll accept it without any haggling. That's how I actually sold one to the musician Zed.
Sweet.
Great guy.
Yeah, I know his music.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's one of the biggest EDM guys, like the festival guys.
So that's how I come up with the price. And this one person, very negative comment, sort of called me greedy. But the more interesting comment that I respond to was, he said, oh, you're billing at a lawyer's rate. Like, that's crazy. And I was thinking about it, I was like, it's not crazy. That's the way it should be, right? Like, if you think about like, I actually think that it's weird that we've gotten into a place in culture where people think that physical work is less valuable than typing.
I get what you mean. Yeah, where it is frustrating sometimes knowing where it's like the people that don't do anything are making more money than the people that are really working hard.
You know who I want to spend money on? Restaurants.
Sure.
A chef that like spent years studying food, finding the right sourcing ingredients, training a staff, building out a really cool interior environment.
Right.
I think chefs should make more than lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors obviously should make the most.
Yeah.
Because, they actually heal people sometimes.
That's a legit thing. Yeah.
Right. But like, it's weird that we've gotten into a place, and now it's kind of AI is almost disrupting this again.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was funny that this comment came right around the time where artificial intelligence is actually making the kind of informational work less valuable.
Sure.
Because if it's just something that involves typing, pretty sure the computers don't need robot fingers to type.
Yeah. And so many things, there's just this little threshold of like knowing what to do. And if the chat GPT kind of helps you know what to do confidently, that's really what you're paying the person for, is like, hey, I need to file this, whether it's a contract or a business proposal or something. So they run it by a lawyer only to make sure there's not a problem with it. And so if that's that premium of a thing, hey, AI's awesome.
So on the same video, I had a comment about sort of cheap, mass-produced Chinese tools. And it was interesting because it kind of encapsulated two things that I think are kind of contradictory, but still common. Whereas I'll get this messaging from the audience that they hate cheap stuff that's manufactured overseas.
Okay.
But they also feel that like physical work doesn't deserve the same financial rewards as intellectual work only.
I see. Okay.
And I'm saying like, and granted, it's not the same person making both those comments.
Right.
But I think it's like an interesting, it was kind of like within like answering, you kind of sit down, you have your coffee, you answer some comments.
Yep.
And one, keep the comments coming. This is not a complaint. Like, engagement is great. Love it. And, one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to engage more and answer more in depth. But I thought it was really interesting to see these two things happen. One, people kind of expressing that, hey, we don't like cheap overseas manufactured stuff. Totally understand that.
Right.
And then two, kind of surprised that like physical work with skill could like create value similar to being a lawyer.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually like the best thing. I think there should be someone like, if you're really awesome at like making sick gardens, and we know that there's people out there that'll be like, oh, I wish I had just like a beautiful garden.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people that do like boutique landscaping,
right,
and they crush it.
I could believe it.
Because if you think about it, if you're like a rich person with taste, you could have a Ferrari and look like a douche. But if you just had the sickest garden with some cool fruit trees, and it's just all, it's it's actually, for people with taste, so much cooler.
Totally. And then for the person that wants something custom as well,
Right.
because a Ferrari is either going to be red or black or white. But if you're working in a more physical space, like designing a space, you can collaborate with the person where it's like, this person, I want to work with them because they're already going to have it 90% of the way there. But what's cool about having it custom is I get to have input on the final 10%.
Right. But I think we should really value physical things that are unique,
Mm-hmm.
made by hand. Like that's the best food, right?
Sure.
And I think the other thing we talked about was like the farm to table stuff. But I think like narrative to physical things is like kind of the interesting way to kind of buck against the kind of AI digital trends and create things of value.
Right. Kind of tell a little bit of the why behind what you're building, obviously explaining the integral things. If there's information to share, cool. But in a build where I clicked a thumbnail that said, I spent 6 hours and made this amount of money, I'm not actually wondering how you build the table. I'm wondering, how do you work for 9 hours and make $3,500? And so part of that story is really integral to that process.
It's so tricky too, because like to make the sale of the thing is more than 9 hours. Because that's where like audience building, marketing, emailing back and forth to close the sale. And now that was just physical direct layer. It didn't include going out and buying the tools or going out and buying the materials. If you go and get like a new CNC machine or a new laser cutter or something, you might spend half a day setting that up.
Yeah.
Also, like the goal is to increase your margins.
Okay.
Right. And then you also have to still do research and development. Like if you had a client commissioning you to do a Terrazzo thing, you couldn't bill them for you figuring out how to do Terrazzo for the first time for them. Like they would expect to come to you with the commission for that.
This is me going to school.
Right.
Even though it's like going to school on a project is a small thing, but hopefully for someone that's creative over the breadth of your career, in the way that a lawyer's gone to school for it, hopefully you've gone to school for it too, but it's kind of like, through trial and error.
And you may not have gone to college for woodworking, but if you do woodworking, you invested a lot of time into learning your craft.
That's it.
And that craft is valuable. So you may not have student loan debts that you pay back and you have to factor into your pricing, but you have all that time experimenting and learning that has to be factored into when you actually give someone a price for a commission.
Right. And that's the thing that I hear sometimes in content where you'll hear a plumber describing this, I can't believe, or a customer will say like, oh, I can't believe I'm getting charged this much for a simple fix. And I've called plumbers and I've been shocked enough to where I've said, no, I'll do this myself. But there's other times where there's like real critical things and I don't want to mess it up. And I've just bit the bullet, hired the plumber. And am I mad about the price? Well, I don't love it, but I'm actually not upset. You get what I'm trying to say? I always want the best deal I can get, but I don't want to try and find the cheapest plumber. I want to find the best plumber that's charging a good, fair price.
The only time to complain about price is when there's a monopoly or it's a government enforced price.
Yes.
Where you don't have options in the marketplace.
Yeah.
For all the bad things about capitalism, that's the good things. Like if you don't like the price of someone making something, you don't have to buy it.
And a fair price for one person is not the same price as a fair price for another person.
Complaining about healthcare prices also viable because like I get those complaints. Those complaints always acceptable.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the price of a teacup, well then, go to Burger King and drink a soda.
Sure. Or just buy one from China.
Vietnam these days.
Yeah. So, you have any obsessions?
Let's see. I've been rewatching Mad Men.
Classic show.
Banger.
Classic show.
Also rewatching a little bit of The West Wing recently.
Okay.
It's interesting because I don't realize, like some of these shows you don't realize they're like 20 or 30 years old now. But the way, we're not going to talk about politics, but the way they talk about politics feels so ancient and so like earnest and sincere. It's kind of like watching like news from like the 1950s where they're like, hello, tonight, here's what happened in America today. It's like very straightforward. And you don't realize how many cultural mutations have happened until sometimes you watch something kind of older.
I've watched House of Cards again recently, and that's what I immediately thought of when you said that show. And part of it is that same feeling that I was noticing. And I would imagine even a little bit more with that one. And yeah, I guess there would be a thing where you're like, well, we'll do a press conference and that'll be solved.
Yeah.
And there's like internet just
Yeah.
like not even considered. Yeah.
It's interesting looking back at old media. Like if you watch like like a thriller show before cell phones, like it totally changed plot structure.
Like call someone for help.
Yeah. I guess that's probably like, I mean, if you're to look at like our first videos versus our videos now,
Ooh,
you know what we see a big difference in?
lithium ion batteries.
Extension cords. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot more extension cords all over the shots.
And even though lithium ion batteries were probably out, they were when we started, brushless motors weren't.
No.
And so I think the combo of improved lithium ion and brushless motors did the thing where for circular saws, planers, like a hand planer, so many things that used to be a plug-in, now it's 18 volt and it's good.
So this is really interesting, right? So if you watch like a sport like cycling, because
Yeah.
you know you're a total loser,
I was gonna say casually watching that, yes.
they'll get or like F1 is a good example.
Well, when Lance Armstrong was doing it,
Yeah.
it was okay to watch the Tour de la France.
But they'll talk about like technical improvements, right? Or with like tennis rackets or golf clubs.
Big time, yeah.
Power tool, I think, is the most underrated thing in the maker kind of and woodworking world. Is they don't talk about the synergistic effect of technological improvements.
Mm-hmm.
When I first used circular saws that were battery powered, they could barely cut through a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood for an 8-foot cut.
Right.
Now, zero problem.
Yeah.
And it's not just because the batteries have gotten better. It's the batteries, the brushless motors,
Yep.
and the blades. I think we're underestimating the blades. Like
Carbide tips.
when I used my dad's circular saw when I was a kid, it didn't even have carbide tips.
Yeah.
It was just like a stamped out. It was like one of those Japanese pole saws, but in a circle.
It burned through the wood.
Yeah. We're doing some wood burning. And like they've gotten, I think what they've gotten really good at is the way they can weld smaller and smaller carbide tips. Because carbide's expensive.
Sure.
But I think it's that the kind of material science is the underrated part that improves performance. Also, if you look at circular saw blades, if you go to an antique store and find a circular saw blade, it's a thick ass chonker.
And like a 12-tooth blade.
And you look at one of those Diablo blades and it's that.
Yep.
The reason why this comes up to me is I've been looking at, I do so much angle grinding and I'm trying to carve dumbbells out of solid steel rods. Like I just literally got like a 3.5-inch steel shaft and I'm just carving my handprint into it.
That's fun. Okay.
Well, it's not fun. It's like
a lot of work.
So I'm sitting there with like the Home Depot special, like grinding away. I'm like, this is gonna take a minute. So
nothing like grinding wood away. Yeah.
So I searched for what are the best carving discs for angle grinders.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbit hole company Ferd, P-Ferd, P-F-E-R-D.
Yeah.
But apparently the best for cutting is 3M Cubitron or something. It sounds like a transformer name.
Yeah.
$6 for a single blade.
Yeah.
But these things are so specifically engineered. Like the matrix of ceramics versus like grit to reduce the amount of heat buildup. But our tools now and like the attachments for them, freaking awesome.
Yeah. And then some of the tools that just didn't exist a few decades ago. I know an oscillating multi-tool. When you're woodworking, the only thing it's really good for is putting that little triangle sander onto in case you're like on the inside of a box and you got to get to the corner. It's like a great detail sander when you're woodworking. But I've been in the middle of a bathroom renovation. It's amazing. Dude, the little plunge saw attachment is so handy if you've got to take a little piece of wood out of a 2x4 stud, and then you can get all the different metal blades, wood blade, drywall blade, putty scrapers. But they didn't have that even in the 80s.
You've seen the Diablo kind of videos where they put on one of their blades for like demo work and they cut through like a 2x4 that's loaded up with nails and screws and it just goes right through.
Yep.
And then you've also probably seen our guy Chris Zepps for Make Everything. Awesome channel. Be sure to check it out, especially if you're into like metal work and like kind of an East Coast guy. He has this Milwaukee saw. It's like a circular saw, but it's for cutting steel.
Yeah.
Just like cuts through like 1/4-inch steel plate, nice straight line,
so awesome.
cool to the touch. I kind of think there's like a really good Mr. Beast style video for like Instagram where you just take like a basic circular saw, you just keep putting different blades and be like, can I cut this?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? Like the kind of like $1 to $100 kind of thing.
Yeah. Like see where a certain saw or a certain blade tops out at, and then just keep upping it.
But I think there's probably, I think I could cut into a basic, like a hotel safe with just a basic circular saw and one of those like Steel Demon Diablo blades.
Yeah. Do you think the content would get like striked where they're like, you can't have that? People are going to do crimes.
I mean, oh, Roadrunner.
Fun.
I cut like, I think padlocks are useless now.
Yeah.
I have like those like chomper things that just like can cut through any padlock, and forget an angle grinder. Is there any lock that can stand up to an angle grinder?
Right. At least before you had to have an extension cord to cut it off. But now, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just fair. It's free game. Open season on padlocks.
Wait, what's your obsession?
And bike locks. My obsession is
not Sicario like it should be.
You're gonna, I know.
Okay, so this is what's gonna happen.
I ended up doing a lot of work this week. I didn't have movie time.
I'm gonna text him later, and then he'll end up watching it.
Yeah.
And then I'll get a text back like a few days later, being like, "Dude, that was sick.
Like that's my best movie ever."
Oh, what about music? What have you been listening to?
Yeah. Oh, I've got an obsession. Boom. You ready? Basement, which is kind of like a rock and roll band. They're kind of like downstream of Nirvana and grunge in the 90s on Run for Cover Records, which just check out that whole label. But Basement's coming out with a new record. It's good. It's classic. And you should check them out. I think Basement. They're hard, but easy listening at the same time. They used to make songs that were like a little more aggressive, but they've still kept that element, but made it a little more.
How do you feel about Geese?
The Animals?
No, the band.
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Check it out.
I will. All right, everyone, check out Geese. We'll talk about it next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.